Good morning. Welcome. Today we're going to continue the Sermon on the Mount series, extending from the book of Matthew study. And this is part 2, and we're looking at verses 13 through 16. That's where we are looking at this morning. And our theme will be salt and light. Salt and light. And so let us begin by looking at the text. So at verse number 13, if you have your Bible open, you can follow along. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. So there's the first analogy. There's the first similarity. There's the first example of what we are to be like. And so now the second part, salt and light. The second part is you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So with this passage of Scripture in the Sermon on the Mount, remember this is one of the themes of Jesus that he would have taught regardless of where he went, to every little village, every little town. If he was in the temple, this was one of the themes that he would have been teaching on. And so we are looking at this analogy today. And so question number 1, we live in a world of darkness. We live in a world of sin. We live in a world that is plagued by self-centeredness and by self-ambition. And it is, there's no other way to look around it. It is getting worse. The things that are happening, just when you think you've heard the worst, then you wake up tomorrow and you read the paper, you listen to the news, and something terrible happens. And so that is one of the reasons why it is so very important for you and for me to live out these principles. One of the things that we glean from the Beatitudes is don't give up doing good deeds. Don't give up following Christ, because your life makes a difference. It makes a difference to you. It makes a difference to your circle, your family, your friends, people that you interact with. It makes a difference to them. And so in our looking at these two great examples today, salt and light, we're going to look at how they are examples of us in a world that has lost its saltiness, in a world that has lost its light. Now, kingdom followers, we will use the term kingdom followers, we will use the term believers, we will use the word Christian, all of those we'll use the word saved, all of those to denote those who have and are following the Lord. And so kingdom followers who live out the Beatitudes will be like salt and light. So if you are living out each one of those Beatitudes, then you are going to be salt. Many times the only testimony that people are going to see or hear or feel, they may not hear your words, but they will certainly see and feel and hear your salt and your light. So they may, you know, I don't want to hear what you have to say. They don't talk to me about that. So you have an impact on people just from the way that you live your life. So properly displayed, light allows sight, it enhances clarity, and it exposes danger. The other night, I was going from downstairs to upstairs, and I had been working in my office when it went from twilight, and it was now really, really dark, and there were no lights on upstairs when I came upstairs, and I was carrying something in my hands, and I think I had a basket of clothes or something, and I could not see anything. I felt the stairs with my feet as I was going up. So when you and I live our lives in a proper way, it allows light. It helps to expose danger. Now, the other side of that is that improperly displayed, then we do the negative of that, right? Negative sight to the world. I am not enhancing clarity. I am causing confusion. And I may be contributing to danger if I live the other way. So we have to be very careful. Letter C, correctly applied, salt preserves, gives flavor, it sterilizes, and it fertilizes food. So all of those things correctly applied. And again, those things, it has to be in the right amount. Too much, okay? You know what happens when you have something food that's too salty? All right? And for those of us who our doctors are telling us to watch your salt intake, okay? Anybody, their doctor telling them to watch your salt? You know? So just be, you know, now, one Sunday morning when the kids were home, they were little, and I usually made pancakes or scrambled eggs for breakfast on Sunday morning as Beth was getting everybody ready. And when I'm cooking, I usually don't add salt, pepper, and that sort of stuff. I let whoever, if you're eating, you can add that later. And one Sunday morning, I decided, well, I'll put a little salt in there, and that will make everybody happy, you know. And sit down to eat the eggs, and man, I said, boy, I put too much salt on. I can't believe they're so salty. You know, I won't do that again. And so I told the kids, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I got too much salt on there. And one by one, every one of my kids, that particular Sunday morning, they said, Dad, I added some salt because you never do. But they snuck around, and they did it when I wasn't looking, and they didn't see each other do it. We had a lot of salt that time. Beth and I were eating at a restaurant one time, and man, everything on the menu, the main course, whether it was baked potato, or it was French fries, and the meat, everything was really salty. Whoa, this chef really likes the salt. Okay, so you and I, we do need to be careful that we have a balance of salty, and the same way with light. You know, when you go to get your eyes examined, and they have that great big microscope they put in front of your eye. And then with me, they have this, looks like a marble. She's there. He's looking in my eye, and he's got a bright light coming in, and that light coming in, that hurts, and that's too bright. So we have to have the right balance. Now, salt and light simply exist, and they can't be rendered useless. Okay, salt appears in the earth. Okay, it's just there, and light is, and we can't negate them. They are there. We have to deal with them, and so light, it can be hidden, and it can be covered. Okay, so this is where the importance of this lesson comes in. Salt can be diluted. It can also be contaminated. So we need to be careful. And in those cases, they lose their benefit. So that's what Jesus is teaching here in these 4 short verses, that you need to have salt, you need to have light, but if you lose them or if you hide them, it nullifies the effect. Okay, question number 2. Now, light was precious in ancient times. They did not have electricity. It couldn't, just readily run out and get a new source of electricity. They didn't have access to all kinds of different types of oils or candles. I mean, yeah, they had oil lamps. They would have had candles, but not like we do today. We have all kinds of light, and so it was precious. Man-made light sources required the burning of fuel. So how were they going to do that? Those resources became extremely valuable and precious. So as a result of that, when Jesus is talking about salt and he's talking about light, you know what it's like when you're eating a food and it's just bland, right? And now where my doctor has told me to kind of be easy on the salt, I don't have to measure it and write it down how much I intake, that sort of thing. So there are times that Beth will say, "Now, how is it?" And I'll say, "It's good." I said, "It would be really great if I shook some salt on it. But for my health, I won't do that." Okay? So we appreciate them. And if you have low light, now that my eyes are getting older and I have to have reading glasses, I also need more light to read. That's what happens as we get older. Our eyes don't focus the way that they should, that they used to. Lamps would have been strategically placed to provide the maximum benefit. Okay? So that everyone in the room could enjoy the light, not just one person. So the ancients, letter D, the ancients appreciated the value of salt's qualities, and salt was so important that for decades, salt was the common method of payment for soldiers. Salt could be used as money. So we have an expression today, they aren't worth their weight in gold. They're also not worth their salt. The salt, it would have been their wages. Both of these leave an impact on their surroundings, whether it's light or if it is saltiness. Sometimes food is too salty and we just can't eat it. Sometimes it's so bright, some people like to have a light on at night when they're sleeping. If you've ever stayed in the hospital, they have lots of lights at night, even though it's, but so it's kind of hard. Some people have to have it pitch black. Some people have to have a night light. It's all different. Okay, question number 3. Believers, kingdom followers are called to have an impact on their world. This is what Jesus is saying. We are to have an impact. They affect everyone they come in contact with. You and I will impact them. We carry the blessings of the kingdom wherever we go. So that's what we do, and that's what we should be doing. Kingdom character qualities spread a message of hope and truth. Again, when we started off, we talked about the light of the world is almost going out. The darkness is so prevalent and so severe. So that's one of the reasons why that our salt and our light is so important in the world that we live in. In this way, when we let our saltiness and our light shine, the world lost can see, and they can be changed by the power of God. They are not changed by our example. Their eyes may be opened. They may see Christ, but you and I can't change them. I may want you to do or to stop doing something. I can't make you do that. Okay? But the power of the gospel can do that. Okay, question number 4. Now, losing its saltiness is not easily understood today. You probably have all encountered, most of the time you'll encounter something like this when you're out eating out. Have you ever eaten out before and maybe you added a little salt and you go, wow, I don't taste it. And the salt in the salt shaker has gone by. You ever encountered that? It has lost it, all right? For whatever reason, if it got damp or whatever. Now, in Jesus' day, salt for eating, for consumption, was refined. And so they ground it. They would add water to it, and that would takes the impurities out. It would get it to a point where it was good to eat and taste. But that watery mix that they drained off was called slag. And you didn't eat that. You didn't put that on food. Now, if by accident someone did put that on, it wouldn't taste very good. And so it contained impurities, and they just threw it out, and they made roads. They patched roads with it. So that's what Jesus is saying here. It's thrown out and trembled underfoot. A believer's testimony, letter C, must bring flavor to those around them. Okay, so we are to be like the salt in the stew, the salt on the meat, the salt on the fries. We bring flavor. It should leave the world wanting more. It should not leave the world saying, thank God in Greyhound they're gone. Right? Now, if we're being obnoxious, then that's the reaction of the world, right? I mean, think about it in your life. Do you like someone always telling you what to do and bossing you around? We don't like that. Even if it's things that you know that you should be doing. Okay? If I Okay, church, when you leave, when you come out of the bathroom, make sure you turn the light off. Okay? You come out of the room. All right, now. Did you when you went over the other fellowship hall, did you turn the light off when you finished? Did you turn? Now make sure when you leave, make sure when you come in the church, wipe your feet. Did you wipe your feet? You know, now what am I doing? I'm micromanaging, right? We all know when you come into the church, you should wipe your feet. Okay, when you're leaving a room, turn the lights off, but don't be bossy. A small lamp radiates great light in darkness. It is amazing how much light a candle can give off when it's really dark. Our president of our college preached a sermon one time. All the darkness in the world can't put out the light of one solitary candle. See, the darkness has no power over the light. The darkness is the absence of light. So when the light is there, the darkness can't touch or hurt or move the light. The light shines forth. So you and I, we are that light. We are the light of the world. A believer's light may seem small compared to the lost world. It may feel like that one candle in a room or in a city. It may feel like that, but you have a great impact. Question number 5. Light and salt have a lasting effect on everything they touch. Okay? How effective in their walk is shown by the effect of their testimony on others. So, if we are letting our light shine, if we are letting our saltiness be out there, then the world is going to see that. They're going to sample that. They're going to taste that. And you may not even realize that they're watching you. You may not even, they may never say anything to you, but they may, they certainly are watching you. When our daughter had her health issues and was in Boston some 15 years ago, she was in the hospital for 6 or 7 weeks, and one of the chaplain on our floor stopped us in the hall, and they said, "We have been watching your family, and we don't know how that you folks have been. You're always so up on top of everything, and you're always so cheery, and you're always so nice to everybody, and with such heavy things that are going on, and we just don't know how you are doing it." I said, "Oh, well, my daughter is a minister, her husband is a minister, her grandfather is a minister, I'm a minister, and we love the Lord." And so she said, "Oh, so you probably don't want these crystals to hold and play with?" I go, "No, I don't need any crystals." "Well, would you like this little box of sand to run over your fingers?" And had a little tiny rake. You could draw this little box of sand, and you could draw in the sand. Then she had a little tiny rake like you would give to a child, and you'd go and rake it over. And would you like to have that? Some people find comfort in that. I said, "No, we find comfort in the one who made the crystals and who made the sand." A diluted testimony and a hidden faith are worthless. Okay? So, and it's real easy to become like the world. And so that's why we are called to stay true to the Lord. Those who allow their witness to be diluted with the cares of this world will have no impact on their world. Just by being friendly, just by being kind, just by showing forth the grace of God, the impact on people's lives. Those who hide their faith to avoid persecution look and act like the world. Question number 6. Those who are believers in name only will not enter the kingdom. Okay? When a person accepts the Lord, when you say the sinner's prayer, you do have to mean it. It's not just in saying words. It's got to come from the heart. It's not just that you repeat something. It's not a magic formula. When a person does accept the Lord, you don't suddenly have you don't have green lines on your forehead. There is no physical sign on a person, that you're a Christian. There is nothing there. People can act like, walk like, talk like Christians, but not be Christian. Okay, it's in the heart. So a person can be just in a name only, but if that's the case, you're not going to make it. Kingdom followers are known by the fact that they display kingdom characteristics. So the things that Jesus talked about, if you look in the blesseds of the Beatitudes, okay, poor in spirit, not walking around like you're the best thing since sliced bread, that you're arrogant. Those who mourn, those who are sorry for their sin, okay, when they make a mistake, they mourn for that. The meek, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers. Each one of those display qualities and characteristics. And you're going to show those, a believer is going to show those characteristics in their lives. So if you're showing the opposite of those things, you're showing that there really hasn't been a change of heart. We'll go back to the story that we talked about a couple weeks ago of the man who was forgiven a huge debt. Then he goes out, he finds somebody that owes him a couple dollars, and he has him put in jail. He can't forgive this guy that owes him a couple dollars, but yet he was forgiven a huge debt. When the king found out about it, the king brought him back in, and he put the debt back on him. He said, you should have been merciful. So if you're always stirring up stuff, if you're always causing trouble, if you're not merciful, if you're haughty, if you're not sorry for sin, all of those things, if you're the opposite of those, then you're showing that you really don't have Christ in your heart, and you need to really accept Him so that He shows forth these qualities in your life. Hidden or deluded people who call themselves believers will be cast out, trodden underfoot. Okay, now some cross-reference verses that Matthew is giving here these themes. Remember, we said that Jesus taught these, and so some of the other Gospels writers, and then Paul is going to pick up some of these themes and expound upon them. So the first one, Mark says it in 9:50, salt is good, but if it has lost all its saltiness, how will you make it salty again? Okay, you're not going to be able to do that. So the admonition there is, if you dilute your testimony, it's hard to get that testimony back again, isn't it? You know, let's say, for example, that, you know, as a Christian, and the group that you're running around with, and your family or friends, whatever, you know, you talk about, well, you shouldn't lie. But then we mess up and we tell a lie. All right? So now the only thing that's left for us when we sin is to what? Repent of it, right? You know, we don't try to gloss it over. We don't make it, well, it's wrong for you to do, but it's okay for me. Don't do that. And so our testimony is hampered when we do that. So there's where we need to, you know, if we lie, then we need to make it right with the Lord, and we need to if we've lied about somebody, we need to make it right with them. So now the world usually doesn't do that. There's a difference for kingdom believers. They will, oh, I'm so sorry, I messed up, please forgive me. Luke 14, it is no use either for the soil or for the manure pile if we lose our saltiness. John 8:12, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. In following the Lord, and in reading in the Bible, you're not going to find in the Bible that it tells us every single thing that we should or shouldn't do. There are some things that, you know, well, the Bible doesn't say I can't do this. Doesn't the Bible say I should do this? But the general principle is there to do the right thing. It is sort of like we have had on the books for driving a distracted law. If you're distracted driving and either the police officer sees you do something that's not safe, or you do have an accident or something, that's distracted driving. And so you can get a ticket for distracted driving. Now, when cell phones came about, you know, they said, well, the law doesn't say you can't text and drive. It doesn't say you can't drive and talk on the phone. And so they have passed laws regulating that now. Now, they did have laws on the books about distracted driving. So they really didn't need the law about doing stuff on your phone. If you were doing stuff that was messing up, they could have used that law. But they felt they had to have another law. And every session of whether it's our state legislature or down in Congress in Washington, D.C., you know they're always passing more laws, right? And I mean, they passed a law the other day, and it was 2,500 pages long. Well, I'm sorry, it didn't pass. It was 2,500 pages. When they actually finally got to, it was 138, but still, 138 pages, because you know what they do. They'll tack on something, for example, we want to pay our policemen and our military. We want to pay them, okay? So we're going to pass a law about that. They're going to pass a bill so they can pay all the military. But in the back pages of the bill, they will say, and we're going to build a bridge from South Portland to Portland, and here's $10 million. That has nothing to do with paying the military, but they tack that on. Okay, they call that pork. Okay, so they've been trying to cut the pork. Ephesians 5 verses 6 through 10. We are to walk as children of the light. If the light is showing us what to do, what to say, how to do it, then we should walk that way. So, if you look in the mirror and you see that you have egg on your face from breakfast, you should take care of it. Okay, you shouldn't look at it and go, no, you should take care of it. Walk as children of the light. Philippians 2, do all things without grumbling. This is hard to do sometimes when things aren't going our way, isn't it? It's really easy to get, and especially if someone else starts grumbling, it's easy to jump in with that, right? And then Peter said, 1 Peter 2, keep your conduct among the Gentiles honorable. Our conduct with each other, we live in close enough proximity so that if we mess up, I'm going to see you again next week. I'm going to see you sometime this week, and okay, I blew it. I'm sorry. But with the Gentiles, you might not see that person ever again. You may not see them very often, and so if we mess up with those people, of course, you know what they're going to do, right? Do you know what that Christian said? Do you know what that Christian did? Okay. Now they're not going to see that we are all sinners saved by grace, right? They're only going to see what we should be doing or what we should not be doing. So keep our behavior among the Gentiles honorable. And our last question for this morning's lesson, key words in our lesson: the expression lost its taste, lost its flavor. The expression to lost its taste literally is to make foolish, or salt that has lost its flavor. In this foolishness part, sometimes we don't take things serious when we should be taking things serious. We make light of something. You don't have any trouble with lying, but someone else might. You don't have trouble with stealing, but someone else might. Okay? We had a teacher when I was in high school, and he had a hard time to explain, and this was in math, okay? He had a hard time to explain things. And he'd be trying to explain something, and he'd say, come on, this is Mickey Mouse. Well, when you're not getting it, it's not Mickey Mouse, okay? It's like parallel parking. Anybody a great whiz at parallel parking? I love parallel parking. Okay. So if you're good at something, you shouldn't make light of where some of the people, other people are not good at something. Those who claim to be believers have lost their saltiness. Okay, so that's a key part of this here. If they lose their saltiness, they lose it. This same idea of being foolish is what the psalmist said in 14:1. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. So we don't want to act foolishly. Letter D, a deluded witness is worthless, which is an omen of impending judgment. So that's a key word in our lesson. Cannot be hidden implies the impossible. This expression means the believer has not power within oneself to hide. A true believer cannot hide their testimony. Your testimony is going to shine. Thrown out and trampled, this uses judgment language as to forcibly cast one out, with no regard as to where they land. So it's just no value for it, let it go. Before men is to live full view of others. The life is unmistakably a believer. I shared with you a couple weeks ago about someone that their spouse lived in China, and they became a believer. They were going to college here, and they became a believer, and they didn't want their spouse to know that because they were afraid of persecution. But when the spouse came, the spouse was so impressed by the positive change in their spouse that they actually told them, they said, you always have to be a Christian because the change in you is so good. I like this new person. You always have to be a Christian. A believer's life will stand out. Amen. Well, that's our lesson for this morning, and Judy will pass out next week's lesson.